Joining us this morning, talking a little bit about investment in the freight space and specifically one in the LTL world that's going to get some goods moving. Grace, thanks for being here.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Nice to see you as always. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on. Freight tech investment becoming more strategic. Duh, of course we know that, right? We're in a tight environment. You've got to be strategic about where you invest. What are the trends that we're expecting coming into 2024 with this?
I think overall, what's really interesting is we look at last year, and I think last year a lot of entities within supply chain were just trying to get a handle on what to expect from the market. And I think we have a clear idea of what that looks like going into 24, especially with even some of the calls made on the market improvements that we've seen so far. And so with that being said, I think that people are going to be looking at places that they can invest in their businesses that's going to not just really bring better value to their overall business, but showcase some value to their customers as well. And I think optimizing, which we'll get into Optym here in a second, but optimizing your processes and making sure that you are really pushing out the best outcome for not only what your employees are doing, but to your customers as well, making our supply chains more efficient and making the processes behind them more efficient, I think is where a lot of people are going to be focusing their time on, whether that's a carrier who's looking at their back office, whether that's into LTL. And I mean, even we talk about C.H. Robinson, right, came out talking about how they're focused on their electronic BOLs and the efficiencies that will bring as well. So I think that's what the biggest theme that we're going to see throughout this year is now that people have a handle on maybe what their budgets look like and what areas of their businesses are falling behind. Now it's time to pick those up and start generating a better outcome for your business.
So if I had to put words behind the freight tech investment space, in 2021, I would have called it prolific. In 2022, I would have called it sustained. 2023, I would have called it reserved. And now 2024, we're saying the word of the year for freight tech investment is going to be strategic. I like that, right?
Yeah, 100. You nail on the head all four of those words. Love that. Yes, and I think it kind of shows you the same thing that we're almost moving directly with the market in a way, right? And I think each segment, right, not just brokers, but carriers and shippers themselves are going to be finding ways to make those strategic investments.
So let's move on to the news coming out of Optym, because this is one of those that has a little bit of strategy behind it. And it's one of our investment firms that is in the news a lot. Venture 53 now putting some capital behind Optym. What can you tell us about their decision to invest?
Well, a big part of this partnership is I think it's almost like a grander step into even a bigger partnership that already existed. Estes, of course, was close to Optym and optimizing their LTL processes. I think you look at Pat Martin and, of course, what he's doing there as well. It makes sense that the team was likely already working hand in hand. Why not make this even a closer relationship and grow together? So I'm happy to see this. There's a number of different optimization softwares that have been built for the LTL space with Optym. They have Route Max, which is, of course, optimizing your routes, driver plan for better scheduling for drivers, haul plan, which is better line haul planning, and then Freight IQ, which is for pricing as well. So you've seen all of those, and I think what's going to be great is we'll probably see those even more so invested in, especially with working with Venture 53. But I think we're also going to see the truckload side of work coming out. They have Load AI and Load Ops that they've have worked on in the past, but also rail. I think rail is a little bit more, again, an area we'll see some investment into this year. As seeing, of course, we're talking about emissions and better ways to move our freight, and especially when we, F3 in particular, had that wonderful announcements between JB Hunt and BNSF and what they're doing with their quantum experience. It's clear that I think that's one mode that we maybe haven't focused on in the investment space and in the tech space as well. And so that's an area that they'll get into too, but I think you'll see some deep investment in LTL, and excited to see, again, what Estes customers see from all of this happening too.
Of course, everybody wants to save a little bit, especially if you are a shipper in this market or a carrier specifically in this market too, is how can you find those little tiny inefficiencies that really add up to that big dollar spend? When we're looking at some of those segments that are really ripe for that optimization in the LTL space particularly, where are we looking at those having the most impact? Is it in your kind of local regional runs, or is it in something that's a little bit more broad?
I think it has to do a lot. I think a big area, and again, I want to bring this up from the CH note, is almost the upgrading of different ways that LTL has worked in the past, and the paperwork aspect I think is huge. I mean, it's not the same, clearly a small package, but look at the technology that is used when an Amazon box is delivered, how they scan each box, the systematics behind it, the visibility that brings. For LTL, the biggest problem, right, a lot of times is visibility and knowing when something can and should deliver. It's almost in the past been kind of like that mode that you choose when you don't really truly care when it delivers, or even at some point how it's handled. Now this can all change. Now that we have a better system, an electronic system to watch our shipments and to strategize our shipments and to avoid extra costs that go onto it, like residential deliveries and having to use a pallet jack, or when you didn't expect to use one, or lift gate, right? All of those expenses can be seen and cleared in real time, and that's just hasn't been there for LTL forever. And I think now that LTL has scooped up a lot of Yellow's business too, it's a great time for them to kind of take on that venture and prove to the industry that they are ready to digitize themselves as well. And it's just one process that I can see trickling down into so many better areas of customer service that I'm excited to see what LTL can look like in a couple of years from now, and what their overall customer service. I don't know if you've ever had to track an LTL shipment. It's likely a nightmare. But in the last couple of years, the amount of investment that's gone into it, I can guarantee that customers have seen that improve.
Well, Grace, hopefully you are going to be having more investments to write about coming into 2024 and get a little bit back on that busy schedule of yours. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kaylee.